This video will discuss Chapter 2.6, Ratios and Proportions. So we're going to start with trying to determine if two fractions are equivalent. Does 2/3 equal 16/24? And so there's a couple ways to see this. One way is to figure out what number would I need to multiply by to get from here, from 3 to 24, and my answer would be 8. And then I would multiply by that same number to get to 16. So 3 times 8 equals 24, 2 times 8 equals 16. That means that 2/3 and 16/24 are equivalent. Another way to view this is to see what number I would need to divide by to get to there. So I'm going 24 divided by some number, also 8, equals 3. And then 16 divided by 8 equals 2. So because I divide both the top and the bottom, right, or the numerator and the denominator by 8, they're equivalent. Or if I multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number, they're equivalent. So the answer to this one would be yes, they are equivalent. Now sometimes it doesn't necessarily work out quite so nice. If I'm not going to use the method where I multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number, what I'm going to do is cross multiply.
Mrs. Ellington, will you please vote the office?
So I'm going to multiply it, and I want you to start to get in the habit of multiplying the denominator to the numerator and keeping it on the same side as the numerator. It won't affect this problem, but it will start to affect problems when we put variables in there. So the quicker you can get in that habit, the better off you're going to be. So I'm going to take 15, I'm going to multiply it times 2, and I'm going to put the 30 on the left side, keeping it on the same side as the 2. I'm then going to take 3.5 times 8, and that is going to give me 28. I'm keeping it on the same side as the 8. Because 30 is not equal to 28, these two fractions are not equivalent. So that would mean these don't equal because those don't equal.
Please report to the office, Ashton.
Now I want to talk about what happens when we do add a variable. So now we've added a variable, x over 10 equals 3/5. And the way we want to solve this is we're going to do the cross multiply. So I'm going to take the denominator and I'm going to multiply it to the numerator. So 5 times x is 5x. 10 times 3 is 30. So I got 5x equals 30. I'm going to then divide both sides by 5. And I end up with x equals 6. Keep in mind I could then substitute a 6 in here and make sure that that statement is true. 6/10 does equal 3/5. Another way to see it, and some people may see this, is you could take this number, and this is multiplied by 2, so you would want to take this number times 2. Or the other way, 10 divided by 2 means some number divided by 2 would equal 3, and 6 divided by 2 equals 3. All right. Now what happens when you have an algebraic expression on top of as the numerator? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this 7, I'm going to multiply it here, I'm going to take 14, multiply it here, but keep in mind now this becomes 7 times x minus 2, and this becomes 14 times 2, which is 28. In order to solve this, I need to use the distributive property. So we need to distribute. So this becomes 7x minus 14 equals 28. At this point, I'm now going to add 14 to both sides. And this becomes 7x equals, what is that going to be, 42, right? Sorry, it took me a second. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 7. And x equals 6. I can then take that number, put it back up here, and make sure that it's true. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 over 14 is equal to 2/7. Now this one's not quite so easy to see if you try to use the trick where you would multiply across, but this is twice as big as this, which means that this, if you're trying to use that trick, this number times 2 would have to equal that. So that means x minus 2 would equal 4. Add 2 to both sides and you would get 6. I don't know if everybody can see that, particularly with all the scribbling. So you may want to think about working the distributive property, because sometimes if these numbers don't work out so nice, that trick isn't a great one to know. All right, now I'm going to have you practice 2 of these algebra problems. First one is r over 8 equals 25 over 40, and then x plus 4 over 15 equals 3/5. Please pause the video at this time to practice these problems. So for this first one, we are going to multiply, cross multiply, and so you should get 40r equals 200. I'm then going to divide by 40. Let's use a different color here. Divide by 40. And you should get r equals 5. You then substitute 5 in there and make sure that it works. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 5 is 25. Over here, we're multiplying across. I get 5 times x plus 4 equals 45. This becomes 5x plus 20 equals 45. Sorry, you should be using a different color. I apologize for that. Minus 20 minus 20. This cancels out. I got 5x equals 25. And then when I divide by 5 on both sides, I should get x equals 5. All right, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in class.